It happened in the days of King Ahasuerus, the Ahasuerus who ruled over 127 provinces from Hodu to Kush, but couldn't buy toilet paper in any of them. Yes, it was during the winter of the virus, when everyone was stuck indoors. Even worse, tax revenues were down, and the CDC had advised that all in-person fundraising events had to be canceled. Until one day, when the king, determined not to be dominated by the virus and needing the money to fund the health service, decided it was time to hold the kingdom's annual fundraising banquet and burlesque. He summoned his advisors with an invitation to a Zoom call to make the preparations.
Thank you, everyone, for joining this call. My wish is that we shall hold a 7-day feast in person so that everyone can see the riches of my kingdom and the honor of my majesty. Plus, I want them to see how great I look now that I've gotten over that nasty virus. Since I got my Regeneron treatment, I am totally immune. I have this protective glow. I feel like reaching out and kissing every lady in sight.
Excellent idea, Your Majesty. We can set up the gold and silver couches for people to recline on, and we can use golden goblets to serve the royal bleat so that no one gets the virus, and we can broadcast it on pay-per-view so that everyone in the kingdom can watch.
Let's stick to wine in the goblets instead of bleach. And I see another problem. Where are we going to hold this banquet? All the restaurants and banquet halls in the kingdom have been closed for indoor dining by the order of the king, and the order has been sealed with the king's seal, and it cannot be revoked.
Good point. Maybe we can hold it in one of the kingdom's finest nursing homes. We've told everyone how safe they are.
Your Majesty, ever since the Attorney General's report was released, we've had to back down on the bit about the nursing homes.
Your Majesty, I have an idea. I know this restaurant across the Hudson River in New Jersey. Since it's not part of your kingdom, your decree doesn't apply there. The Young Republicans banquet there was a huge success. Yours will be even bigger.
But what about the decree of the governor of New Jersey?
It wasn't sealed with the governor's seal, so we don't have to pay any attention to it.
It is decided. We shall hold the banquet illegally in New Jersey. Now, we'll also need entertainment. What shall we do?
Your Majesty, let us summon Queen Vashti to dance before the king and the assembled crowd, for she is beautiful of appearance.
Very good. Contact Vashti and make the arrangements.
So Harbona and Karshena set up a Zoom call with Vashti to give her the instructions.
Vashti, the king has commanded you to do the show at Saturday's annual fundraising banquet and burlesque.
Can't you get one of the Jewish girls from the Benot Rachel Yeshiva? They're not doing anything on Saturday.
They all volunteered to do essential hospital work that day, and by the king's sealed decree, they can't.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'll do it. But we've got to take safety precautions. There must be a plexiglass shield between me and the audience. The chicken wire you usually put up won't stop the virus. And I'm not doing the usual garter belt walk out into the audience.
I'm afraid the garter belt walk is not optional. After all, this is the big fundraiser for the National Health Service. But we'll rapid test everyone in the audience before they come in.
Fine, I'll do the walk, but I'm keeping my mask on.
No good. The king wants to see your face along with everything else, but maybe we can compromise. How about you wear your mask around your thigh instead of your face? You can keep your crown on your head if you want.
Mask around my thigh? And what good is a crown on my head going to do me? Listen, pal, I wasn't keen on doing this before, but no mask, no way. Do you know how many people got sick last month when the king introduced his new Supreme Court justice in the palace garden? And that was outdoors. There's no way I'm trusting all those COVID deniers that the king invites to his parties. I haven't been to the palace since last August because of their slapstick safety measures. The green dress can come off if the king wants, but Buster, the mask stays on my face.
But Vashti refused to dance at the banquet. The bad news had to be reported to the king at the next palace staff meeting.
Your Majesty, Vashti's disobedience is unacceptable. It cannot be tolerated. Besides, how else can we fund the health service?
We could get a 100-year-old veteran of the Babylonian Wars to walk around his garden 100 times.
Okay, that solves the fundraising problem, but there is still the question of Vashti's sedition. She must be disposed as queen immediately.
Guess you're right. She's got to go. But how will we find someone else to become queen with the pandemic going on? Our usual selection methods wouldn't be safe now.
Your Majesty, I have an idea. Let us arrange to have a contest. Every young maiden in the kingdom shall appear on YouTube before the people. Every person shall cast a vote for the one he likes best, and the one that gets the most votes shall become the new queen.
An excellent idea, but won't it be too risky to have people come to the polls to cast their votes?
Not a problem, Your Majesty. This year we'll allow them to vote by mail. After the last video is posted to YouTube, they'll have 2 weeks to send in their ballots before the day the votes are counted.
I don't know, Haman. That sounds like an opportunity for a lot of voter fraud to me.
Don't worry, we check their signatures against the voter rolls and everything will be just fine.
What day should the ballots be due?
Let me check my Google Calendar and select a date right now. Looks like the 15th of Adar is an excellent date.
We shall have an online beauty contest to determine who shall be the new queen. Haman, I place you in charge of organizing the contest. Memukensberger, you shall be in charge of counting the ballots.
And thus Haman rose to become the most powerful of the king's advisors as the beauty contest got underway. Among the young women in the kingdom preparing to enter the contest was one just finishing up a Zune minion sponsored by the Shushan synagogue.
Yasher Koach, Esther, beautifully led.
Thank you, Mr. Haythak.
Have you all seen the news of this contest to pick the new queen that the king is organizing?
Yes, and I've been thinking that Esther should enter the contest.
Gee, I'm not sure, Uncle Mordechai. So many women are going to enter. Do you think I really have a chance? I didn't do very well the last time they selected a new queen.
Yes, but this year the contest is being held online and the new queen will be elected instead of picked by the king. We'll get the whole Shushan synagogue behind your campaign.
I have to go now, but I'll think about it.
Do you really think she has a chance this time?
I'm not sure. She is awfully prone to making gaffes in her speeches, and people may remember the big plagiarism scandal from the first time she tried to become queen.
I hope everyone's forgotten about that. Let's enter her into the contest. I'll go down to the palace and see about getting everything we need.
Mordechai took a walk to the palace, but as he approached the palace gate, he missed Haman coming out, walking his dog.
Hey there, you know your dog is supposed to be leashed.
Buzz off, mister. I'm one of the king's ministers, and it's no business of yours what my dog does.
But dogs by the palace gate are required to be leashed. The leash decree was sealed with the king's seal, and so it can never be repealed.
Hey, I think I know you. You're Professor Mordechai Jones, aren't you? From the archaeology department at the university?
Yes, that's me. And I want you to know I'm recording this on my phone.
I know a few things about you. I know that you're a Jew, and if you don't leave me and my dog alone, I'm going to call the king's eunuchs down from the palace to have you arrested.
Why would they arrest me when you're the one whose dog is unleashed?
You know how the palace guard feels about Jews. They'll never believe you over me when I explain that you threatened me. In fact, I'm going to call 911 right now unless you bow down before me right here.
I will never bow down before you, Haman.
I'm taking out my phone right now, Mordechai. I'm dialing. You better start bowing.
Look, let's just forget about it. I'll get the forms for entering the beauty contest another time.
So Mordechai left before the eunuchs arrived. But Haman was incensed that Mordechai refused to bow down before him. He went home and made plans to have his revenge.
Zeresh, I'm so upset about what happened down by the palace gate.
Yes, I can't believe Mordechai refused to bow down before you.
What? How do you know about it?
Mordechai posted the video to YouTube. It's gone viral. By now, half the kingdom knows that you threatened Mordechai with false arrest because he called you out for having your dog unleashed. You know, you could get fired from your job for this.
I'll get him back for this. In fact, I'll get them all back. I'm going to destroy the Jewish people.
How are you going to do that?
I've decided to start an anonymous website. On my website, I'll post stories claiming that the Jews are a secret cabal of Satan-worshiping cannibalistic pedophiles running a global sex trafficking ring and plotting against me, the vizier, who is fighting to stop them from taking over the kingdom. And I'll call this website Achanon.
You've got to be kidding. Who would ever believe something like that?
You'd be surprised how many people are willing to believe things like that. Heck, you can go around spouting that kind of stuff and get elected to Congress these days. Once my Achanon propaganda has spread throughout the kingdom, I'll be able to get the king's permission to destroy the Jews.
Will he believe you?
Sure he will. You know how he gets all his information off the internet these days. But I have another idea. You enter the contest to become queen, and you could keep him informed of the conspiracy from inside the palace.
Great idea. I'll prepare for the contest. You get the website underway.
Haman started spreading his conspiracy theory on 4chan. Before long, word about it reached the Shushan synagogue.
Mordechai, where are you? What do you know about this Achanon conspiracy?
It's terrible, just terrible. I've torn my clothes, I've put on sackcloth and ashes, and I'm sitting down by the palace gate.
Did you remember to mail in your ballot for Esther in the beauty contest? We need to make sure we get every vote. If Esther is queen, she might be able to do something to counter the influence of Achanon among the king's advisors.
I did vote, but we need to do more than that. I think we should declare 3 days of fasting during the last 3 days of voting. And after that, we should all gather on the Zoom and to watch the election results come in.
The Jewish community fasted for 3 days as the voting period came to a close.
It's great to eat popcorn again after all that fasting.
Yeah, but the suspense is killing me. I can't believe it's this late in the election still hasn't been called.
Most of the returns are complete now, but we're still waiting for a large collection of mail-in votes from Shushan. Zerach is maintaining a narrow lead in the in-person voting, but the mail-in votes from the city are expected to favor Esther, the candidate of the Persian Democrats, since Jewish voters were reluctant to go to the polls in person.
Did you hear about Vashti's attempt to enter the contest and become queen again?
Yeah, she showed up in the same green dress she wore 4 years ago.
They told her, now that you're running as the incumbent instead of the challenger, you really need to update your dress. But she told them if it worked just fine last time, and she didn't see any point in changing it, even though it didn't fit her like it had 4 years ago.
Maybe they should impeach her so that she can't serve as queen again.
She claimed it was unconstitutional for them to impeach her once she'd quit. Hang on, there's a news flash coming in.
And we've just gotten word that the mail-in votes from Shushan have been counted. As expected, they've been cast overwhelmingly for Esther. We now show 324,400 votes for Esther and 300,013 and 301 votes for Zarish. We can now call Esther as the new queen of Persia. But wait, Zarish has just released a statement from her campaign headquarters saying that since the margin is so close, she demands a recount on the vote in Milwaukee and Shushan and will challenge the results in court.
Congratulations, Esther. Although it looks like there's a long road ahead before you formally become queen.
I'm really worried about what Zeresh and Haman might do to overturn the result and get Zeresh put on the throne.
Good point, Esther. We need to send observers to watch the recount and make sure the ballots are counted honestly. Mordechai, go down to the Shushan polling station and make sure everything is on the up and up.
Haman and Zeresh got together to organize their efforts to change the outcome of the election. They started by placing a Zoom call to Memenskanzberger, who was in charge of certifying the election.
Memenskanzberger, the king is expecting you to pay careful attention to the recount of the vote to make sure that the Jews don't succeed in stealing the election from Zeresh.
We spent a lot of time on this, and if we go over the numbers, I think it's pretty clear that I won. Those late-night ballot dumps were massive fraud by the Jews.
I understand that, but we've been examining the ballots, and there's no evidence of any fraud. The election count is accurate.
That can't be right. If you do a real check of the signatures on the ballots from Shushan, you'll find thousands of forged signatures. You'd be respected, really respected, if you took another look at those ballots.
We only need 11,000 votes from Shushan. The king is expecting you to find those votes, Memenskanzberger.
Well, I've listened to what you've just said. We don't agree about the thousands of ballots that you mentioned.
You also need to look at those Dominion voting machines. In a lot of the other provinces, we found tremendous corruption with the Dominion machines, but we'll have to see. But what's the difference between winning by 2 votes and winning by 50,000? Because I think I probably did win it by 50,000 votes.
The challenge that you have, though, is that the data you have are wrong.
Look, in my opinion, Mordechai is as dishonest as they come. He's outplayed you at everything. It's a disaster. And it's more illegal for you than it is for them because you know what they did and you're not reporting it. That's just, that's criminal offense.
I just want to find 11,000 votes, just one more than we need to have because I won Shushan.
Look, you have your people that submit information and we have our people that submit information, and then it comes before the court. We have to stand by our numbers. We believe our numbers are right.
Brad, we just want the truth. It's simple and everyone's going to look very good if the truth comes out. But the real truth is she won by 100,000 votes at least. We don't need 100,000 votes. We just need 11,000 votes. Can we meet tomorrow?
I'll be in touch with your attorneys to set up another call.
Thanks for your time.
This is no good. We've got to take a more direct approach to changing the results of the election. Let's have a chat with Bigthan and Teresh down at the polling station.
But when Mordechai got down to the polling station that night, he found it deserted. Or at least it looked that way.
This doesn't look right. Where is everyone? The poll workers should be here. And what's that noise I hear in the back?
Hey, is this machine turned on?
It's on. Have you got the box of ballots? Start feeding them through. Here.
They're in, and they've been officially counted.
Here, take these, and as they come out, do it again.
Hey, who's back there? What are you all doing?
What? Oh, nothing. We're not doing anything.
Then why is the ballot counting machine running? And what's that box in your hands?
This box? Oh, this box? Oh, we're just making sure the votes were counted properly.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. Checking to make sure the signatures are right. The signatures.
No, you're not. You're running them through the machine again. They're still coming up behind you. And these votes, they're all for Zeresh. Police, come quickly. Bigthan and Teresh are running votes for Zeresh through the machine again to change the vote count.
So the palace eunuchs came down and arrested Bigthan and Teresh for tampering with the election. Zeresh and Haman were disgraced. They decided to go on the offensive. They called a press conference the next day to be held at the Four Seasons.
I thought we were going to the Four Seasons Hotel. What's the story on this dump?
I don't know, but this is definitely the address on the press release.
Look at that sign. Four Seasons Landscaping and Septic Tank Service? I guess they left a few details off the announcement.
I'd like to thank everyone from the press for coming today.
We're here to describe a situation that is extremely troubling. In the wisdom of the officials of Shushan, a city where bad things happen, really bad things, instead of going to a high degree of care to allow our patriotic poll watchers to participate, there was no security, zero. And we'll be bringing lawsuits starting on Monday because Zeresh is 100% within her rights to look at the allegations of irregularities and weigh her legal options.
So you are saying that there are fraudulent ballots that were counted? Because we checked the poll book and it doesn't show any discrepancies.
Yes, we're saying that at least 30,000 mail-in ballots were improperly counted in Shushan.
But the poll book doesn't show anything like that.
The poll book is completely off. Completely off.
Off by 30,000?
I'd say that poll book is off by 100,000.
That's not what we see right now.
You take a look again. What did you guys do? Did you take it and then do something crazy to it? And I signed something saying that if I'm wrong, I can go to prison. Did you? And dead people voted and illegals voted. And that's my answer.
Zeresh, I think you should go sober up and let me do the talking for a while.
Okay, you talk.
We're very concerned about flawed security around the ballots at the polling place. We have here as evidence a briefcase belonging to Hunter bin Mordechai, the cousin of Esther. This briefcase contains over 500 ballots cast for Zeresh that Hunter bin Mordechai removed from the polling place. Zeresh, show them the briefcase.
What briefcase are you talking about? I don't have a briefcase.
The one from Hunter bin Mordechai with all the missing ballots.
Oh, that briefcase. Yeah, we sent that out to get it repaired. We never got it back. Sorry about that.
You mean we don't have the briefcase?
I guess not. I think the Jews destroyed it with their giant space lasers. And that's why we can't find it anymore. Hey, is that ink running down your face?
Okay, let's call an end to this for now. We'll get back to you once we find all the evidence of the massive fraud that's changed the outcome of the election for Queen.
Man, that was the worst press conference I've ever seen. The only way you guys are going to win this lawsuit is if you walk into the courtroom carrying the Lost Ark of the Covenant before you.
The Lost Ark? Now that's an idea. Zeresh, come with me. We have some planning to do.
Meanwhile, back at the palace, the king's sleep was disturbed.
Arbona, help! Join me on Zoom immediately. Arbona, I've had the most horrible nightmare. I dreamed that there was this coronavirus pandemic going on. Esther had won a contest to become queen, but Zeresh was challenging the results, and there was all kinds of fraud, and my vizier was making a complete and utter fool of himself.
I don't know how to tell you this, Your Majesty.
You mean that's all really happening?
Well, yes. Yes, it's all happening.
Oh, wow. This year sucks even more than I realized. And now I'm watching the news on the Persian News and Information Service, and I'm seeing this ad by these people calling themselves the Xerxes Project.
Is that the one that's telling Haman that on the 15th of Adar you're going to certify the election of Esther as queen and that Haman and Zeresh will be losers?
Look, I'm so freaked out by all this. I can't get back to sleep. Read to me from the Book of Records. If we have to be stuck here on Zoom, we might as well get some work done.
Good idea, Your Majesty. Here's the record of the trial of Bigthan and Teresh for running ballots for Zeresh into the voting machines 3 times.
Remind me again. Who reported them?
It was Mordechai Jones.
Mordechai. Did we ever reward him for helping keep the election secure?
No, Your Majesty. Nothing has been done for him.
He should be rewarded. Get Haman onto the call so that we can ask him what should be done for the man whom the king wishes to honor.
I have bad news, Your Majesty. Haman has left town suddenly and is out of contact.
Did he say anything about where he was going?
He left a message that he was going to the ancient city of Tanis.
Tanis? What could he possibly be looking for at Tanis?
The king didn't know what Haman was doing in Tanis, but Esther knew who to ask. And she knew she could find him at the Shushan Synagogue Board's monthly meeting on Zoom the next night.
Thanks to everyone for coming tonight. We're going to skip the financial reporting for tonight because the investment committee put the entire endowment into Bitcoin and GameStop stock, and they're both going up and down like a chihuahua on Quaaludes. So we'll try to get some information next month when the endowment might be invested in something with actual value.
I knew we should have just left that money invested with the Federation.
Next, the effect of the lockdown on operations. We're doing really well holding events on Zoom, but it's getting tough to get a minyan together on Shabbat. The government has imposed another lockdown. Frankly, I think they're targeting the Jewish community with these policies in retaliation for us trying to continue on normally.
It's my fault. I shouldn't have invited 7,000 people to my son's wedding.
Just as long as you don't end up inviting them all to your funeral. We'll start taking walk-ins at Minyan again and see if that helps. Next agenda item, Haman and Zeresh's crazy attempt to overturn the election of Esther as queen.
The good news is that Haman and Zeresh have lost every one of the lawsuits they brought over the election results. But the bad news is that this Achanon conspiracy is starting to take hold. It's whipping up a lot of anti-Jewish sentiment all over the kingdom. In fact, there's a huge mob of Achanon followers gathering outside the palace gates, and they're building a giant gallows.
Can't we solve this problem by just frying Haman and the mob with our giant space lasers?
No, Esther. That's part of the Achanon conspiracy. It's all fake. We don't actually have any giant space lasers.
Too bad. It would have been a good solution to the problem.
How about if we have Haman impeached for summoning the mob with the intention of having them overturn the election of the new queen?
No, there's no way that could ever work. It would just be a show trial. There's too many Achanon members in Congress who will never vote to convict him, no matter what he does. They won't even suspend his membership in the Labor Party.
Besides, we impeached Kaman in last year's skit, and it didn't do any good.
Good point. The only thing we can do is get the king directly involved. Esther, we need you to go to the king and ask him to intervene against the Achanon mob.
But that's impossible. No one has been allowed to approach the king for the last 30 days, ever since the test positivity rate in Shushan went over 5%. The palace has been a red zone and we're on lockdown. Anyone who approaches the king during lockdown without being summoned is put to death.
Esther, you must try. When you approach the king, you will see that he's carrying a golden cotton swab, 6 inches long. You must hope that the king will extend the golden swab to you.
What will happen if he does?
If he does, you must lean forward. The king will insert the golden swab into one of your nostrils, and he will make 3 circles with it. Then he'll insert it into the other nostril and make another 3 circles. Then they'll send the swab out for rapid analysis. And if it comes back negative, you can approach the king without being put to death.
That's got to be the most bizarre ritual I've ever heard of, but I will give it a try.
But you have to stay 6 feet away from him.
How will I know if I've gotten too close?
The king's golden scepter is exactly 6 feet long. If you get too close, he'll swing it at your head. As long as you're 6 feet away from him, it can't hit you.
Mordechai, we also have a question for you. We have some information that we can't make any sense out of, but we hope you can. Haman has left town and gone to the ancient city of Tanis.
Haman has discovered Tanis?
For the last 2 years, Haman has had teams of Amalekite archaeologists running around the world looking for all sorts of religious artifacts. Haman has gone nuts on the subject. He's obsessed with the occult, and right now there's some sort of kind of Persian dig going on in the desert outside Cairo.
What exactly does this mean to you, this Tanis?
Well, Tanis is one of the possible resting places of the lost Ark of the Covenant, which was used to carry the 10 Commandments.
You mean the 10 Commandments, the original stone tablets that Moses brought down and smashed?
It was in the Temple of Solomon, where it stayed for many years until all of a sudden, whoosh, it was gone.
Where to?
No one really knows, but an Egyptian pharaoh invaded Jerusalem in about 980 BCE, and he may have taken the ark back to the city of Tanis and hidden it in a secret chamber called the Well of Souls. But a year later, the city of Tanis was consumed by the desert in a sandstorm, which lasted a whole year, wiped clean by the wrath of Hashem.
I'm beginning to understand Haman's interest.
Yes, the Bible speaks of the ark leveling mountains and laying waste to entire regions. And it's also very good for legal proceedings. An election lawyer who carries the ark before him into court is invincible.
Then we'll all be in big trouble if Haman finds the ark. We've got to get to it before he does.
Mordechai, we need you to use your archaeological knowledge to go to Tanis and find the ark before it falls into Haman's hands.
So Mordechai, the president of the shul, and Hathach went off to Tanis to search for the ark, while Esther went back to the palace to get ready to approach the king.
We're in luck. Haman and the Amalekites are digging in the wrong place. The Well of Souls is over on the other side of that hill.
If we go quickly, we'll be able to retrieve the ark before Haman can find it.
Right here, right where the rays of the sun are falling. That's the spot of the entrance to the Well of Souls.
The diggers have uncovered a large slab of rock. It's covering the entrance to the chamber where the ark is supposed to be found.
Move the slab away. Carefully, it's heavy. Yes, look, there's an opening in the ground underneath the rock. Mordechai, look down into the opening with me. Why does the floor move?
It's seraph serpents. Why did it have to be seraph serpents?
Seraph serpents, very dangerous. You go first.
How do we get past the seraph serpents and get to the ark?
This is why we brought that large copper staff with us. If you hold the copper staff before you, the seraph serpents won't come near you. You'll be able to get the ark and take it back to Shushan.
Mordechai, tie this rope around your waist. Then take the staff and we'll lower you into the well. Take hold of the ark and we'll pull you back up.
As Mordechai dropped down towards the floor, the seraph serpents moved back away from the copper staff, and Mordechai was able to reach the lost ark. But Mordechai got a surprise when he came out of the well.
We meet again, Dr. Jones. How pleasant to see you here.
Not that pleasant, really. Don't make me use this spear, Mordechai, though that would be pleasant.
Amalekites. Why does it always have to be Amalekites? I keep trying to blot you out of my memory. Where are Hathach and the president of the synagogue?
They're a little tied up at the moment, back at our camp.
Don't worry about them, Mordechai. What was yours, briefly, is now mine. We'll just take the ark and be on our way.
Zerach hit Mordechai on the back of the head with the butt of her spear and knocked him out. When he woke up, Haman and Zeresh and the ark were gone. He snuck into the Persian camp and found Hathach and the president of the shul tied up in Haman's tent.
Are you both all right? Hang on while I untie you.
We're fine, but we saw Haman and Zeresh come back carrying the ark. If you still want the ark, it's being loaded onto a camel for Shushan.
Then we have to get back to Shushan ourselves and hope that Esther will test negative when she approaches the king.
Back in Shushan, Esther fasted for 3 days, then went to the palace and approached the king. He extended the golden cotton swab to her, and the sample was sent out for analysis. But while they were waiting for the test result to come back, other things began to happen.
What is all that noise coming from outside the palace?
I hear a lot of people shouting, "Stop the steal," and "Hang Mordechai." And is that the sound of glass breaking?
Your Majesty, Queen Esther, I'm sorry to report that Haman's mob is breaking into the palace. They've gotten into the legislative chamber and they're taking photos of themselves carrying all the podiums away. But they'll be coming up here soon. We need you all to go shelter in place until the eunuchs can clear them out of the palace. Please come with me.
I'm sending Haman an email demanding that he get on a Zoom call with us right away. He's got to call off this mob. But while we're waiting for him, Esther, what is your request? Even if it extends to half the kingdom, it shall be granted.
If it please the king, let my life be granted to me as my request, and my people as my petition. For we have been sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, and they are trying to steal my election as queen too.
Who would do such a wicked thing? Where is the one who has dared to do so?
It is Haman. He's the one that organized the Achanon conspiracy, and he has called together the mob that has built the giant gallows outside and is storming the palace. And I think he's calling you on Zoom right now.
I got your email, Your Majesty. How can I help?
I need you to call off this mob you gathered that's storming the palace.
The mob is storming the palace? Well, I take no responsibility at all. Do I look like a radical socialist with a soft spot for rioters? They're just upset about the most fraudulent election in all of history.
I know you called them together. Now you need to call them off.
Fine. I'm sending them a tweet right now. It was a landslide election for Zeresh. Everyone knows it, but you have to go home now.
That is unacceptable. I'll be back in a minute.
Esther, I can see that the king is determined to do me evil. Is there any way we can make some kind of deal here?
Let's wait to see what the king says when he gets back.
Fine. I've got another call I need to attend to for a second.
Haman, this behavior of yours cannot be. Oh my God, what are you doing?
Wait a minute. Was I on camera? I thought I was talking to someone else on another Zoom call.
Haman, that's disgusting.
Well, it doesn't matter what you think, Esther, because you'll never get 67 senators to convict me. And if you're not going to be the queen much longer, I have returned from the ruins of Tanis with the lost Ark of the Covenant. And inside the Ark are the missing ballots that were cast for Zeresh, but were hidden away by the Jewish election workers. I'm going to open the Ark now and show you the proof that Zeresh won the election. Look at this.
Wait a minute. There's someone climbing out of the Ark.
Roar! I'm here to make sure that Trump is declared the winner in Georgia. We're going to keep America great.
Keep America great? This is Shushan in Persia. I think you're on the wrong skit.
Dude, no way. Look, I'll just go take a selfie with my feet up on the speaker's desk on my way out of here. Hey, can you tell me where the lizard people are? Maybe they know where I'm supposed to go. Do you have any organic grub in this palace?
No, we haven't heard from the lizard people today, and we're kind of busy.
All right, now that he's out of the way, I'm going to reach into the Ark and produce those missing ballots.
Haman, what's that bright light that's coming out of the Ark?
Wow, that was almost as good as the space lasers would have been.
King Ahasuerus summoned 20,000 eunuchs to protect the palace while they finished confirming Esther's victory as queen. Although they had to remove 2 of the eunuchs who were found to have H-Anon propaganda on their phones. In the end, the palace guards were able to identify 10 of the rioters and arrest them. Their names were Parshandata, Dalphon, Aspata, Parata, Adalia, Adata, Parsmata, Arisai, Aridai, and Vaizata. They were convicted and executed. The Jews had 10 days of feasting and gladness and sending delicacies to one another and gifts to the poor. Only Bigtan and Teresh got off scot-free. Haman had issued them a pardon right before the Holy Spirit came out of the ark and destroyed him.